Let us see some use case of advanced VLOOKUP and array formula. So the problem statement is again not that difficult, but what we are going to learn from it is pretty interesting. So we have a data where there is attendance report of different employees. So whenever they come in, they mark it in, and when they go out, they mark it go out. They can mark in and out multiple times in the same day. And the problem statement is these are the unique employees. And over here, we need to know for this staff what was the last action and when was that action performed. Now, if this has been in a reverse order, like the latest one is always at the top, we could have very easily simply write vlookup function because vlookup always takes the first data point. But the problem is this data is not in the reverse order but in ascending order. So the first one, I mean the latest one, is at the end of this data for each user. So how to get that? Let us see how vlookup work in a bit more detail. So we say vlookup and we put any search. Let's say we want to search this, and in this we, let's say we want the third column and 0. So if we look at the formula, formula needs one range. In this case, it's data A to C. But this range, we can create our own as well. Like basically, we need to provide VLOOKUP with one range. Now, from where that range is coming is irrelevant. Let me explain what I'm saying. So over here, if I write something like equal to filter this entire thing such that length of, let's say, this is greater than 0 and the row of this is greater than 1. So what we have done is we have taken, now we can remove the show formula. What we have taken is this entire thing except the header and the blank rows. Now on this we'll apply sort by third column in descending order. So is ascending is false means in descending order. Now as soon as we did this, now you see the latest one is at the top. So third, 1st of March, then 28th of Feb, and then as we go down, 27th of Feb, so on and so forth. Now, if we give this as a range to our VLOOKUP, we will always get the last one. So now over here, instead of instead of this data A to C, we enter what we have created our own data. And now we should get the latest one for each user. So the first problem is pretty straightforward. We need to do that. But what other thing that I want to show here is if I write array formula over here and tomorrow for some reason someone want to delete the data, this will go away. So what we'll do is we will write array formula over here and we write array formula. If row of A to A is equal to 1, then simply write, let's say we can write status. If it is not A to 1, then we will do some different stuff. And what is that some different stuff? We want this thing. We want whatever we have created over there and we look up A to A. So this is the ID. Now we are getting the, actually we don't need the third column. We need the second column, which is the in or out column. Third column is the time. We don't have data for this particular user. So we can say in the entire thing, if error, then simply show blank. Now we have got the first is a status because over here it check if row of A to A equal to 1, then it shows a status. Or else if row of A to A is not equal to 1, then simply we look up A to A and instead of the defined range, we have given a range that is sorted. Now we can do exactly same thing over here as well. Instead of status, we want this to say timestamp. And instead of vlookup second column, we need the third index and we have the timestamp. You can format it in whatever format you wish. This is one way of doing this. What I wanted to show you is something in the array formula. Now, one thing you need to note is, in my previous courses, I've said that filter does not works with array formula. What I meant by that statement is array formula cannot change the range of filter. So if you see in vlookup, when we say vlookup a to a, array formula changes that range. Like first it goes to a1, then a2, a3, a4, a5 on each row. But over here, what we have given as a filter, we are not asking array formula to change anything. For all the rows, this particular range is the same. So nothing is being changed in this particular range. So this does not come under the purview that array formula cannot be applied on filter. What I mean by when I say array formula cannot be applied is, for example, if you want to say equal to filter this entire thing such that is equal to, let's say over here I had, so let's say in A2 I had 189. So now I cannot do that. If I cannot do array formula and instead of A2 write A2 to A, for here let's say A7 to A. No, first is we make is equal to A7. So we, for this data we have shown this entire filter result. Now let's say over here it was 189, over here it was 586, over here it was some different ID. Now I cannot do array formula and A7 to A8. This is not allowed. So basically in filter you cannot give the array formula and you cannot expect that array formula is going to make it first A7 then A8 then A9 if it was A9. But in this case, the range which is being created by a filter formula is not being changed. That is a static range. So that we can give inside array formula or anywhere else. So that was one point. Another point is, let's say I could have also done like this. So over here, instead of giving the index number 2, I could have written index 2 comma 3. And what this does is it gives you two output. And first is if row a to a equal to 1, it shows a status. Then it goes to vlookup on this range. Now instead of saying index 2, I have written 2 and 3 inside a curly bracket. Now this means is in this row I want the index 2, in this row I want the index 3. So in one vlookup, if you want, I could have easily written comma 1. So it needs one extra column. So I say insert one column right. So over here, format number automatic. Now this is the row number, column number 2, column number 3, column number 1. So column number 2, column number 3, column number 1. So with one vlookup function, we were able to get 3 of them. Now to make it more simpler, what I could do is I can get rid of this thing entirely. So we don't have the if statement. The false part of this statement is also gone. And we simply write over here, it says ID. If I make that ID over here as well, we look up A to A, and in the range we are going to remove this part that the row is greater than 1. If I remove this, so for ID, it simply looked up for this and it got the value over here. So ID in out when. So now this also become part of the VLOOKUP. I can go here and I don't want the first column, so I delete this. So in one function, we were able to achieve. Now if I change over here and make it when this happened, that will also change over here because now the header itself is a part of VLOOKUP. So initially we had defined if row of A equal to 1, then have a different header, else do the VLOOKUP. So header was not part of the VLOOKUP, but by doing this, we have taken the header as well in the part of VLOOKUP. To get that over here, when we created the range, I had applied this, that row of C to C is greater than 1 to remove the header. But since we want the header in our case, this should not have been there. Now this becomes our data. And based on that data, this VLOOKUPs gives us the output that we were looking for. So I hope you get some more you got some more insight on VLOOKUP and array formula. With this, we wrap up this task.